Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I want to show you the HYDRA team I ran this week with Rathalos BLADEMASTER, right? We did a few different test runs in my first look at him, my sort of guide on the champion, but I locked in a full run, right? It's the last day for HYDRA reset, so I had to get it in right now. We'll certainly be coming back to him. This was just an initial attempt with, a fairly standard sort of team comp for him, I would say. But let's take a quick gander. This is what I used, and this is why I use the champs as well, and then we'll talk about the build for the champions too. So we've got Rathalos actually in the lead. That is purely pretty much to be boosted by Shamail. Now, one thing I did try, unfortunately it didn't work here, was because you can see he gets targeted by Mischief. I didn't want him to open with his A3 because that gives him buffs, and the head of Mischief would then try to steal his buffs. So I had him open with the A2. Unfortunately, it did steal those anyway. So hey, look, it is what it is, I guess. But he's in the lead to be boosted up by Inquisitor Shamail. So we've got our very standard, I use it all the time on the channel. Love these two champions together. Inquisitor Shamail plus an Ugo, right? Ugo with a decreased defense and block buffs. The block buffs is stopping Poison Cloud, it's stopping Wrath buffs, it's stopping the reflect damage. It just makes the run so much cleaner. And then Shamail, again, makes Head of Torment basically no threat whatsoever as well. That becomes actually a benefit to your team. So I love these two champs together just to make things nice and simple. Rathalos, we talked about him. He's bringing all the damage. Now, to get the most out of his damage with his passive, we need HP burn. So we're actually bringing in a Tila Gormain who has AoE HP burn on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, she is magic affinity, right? So there are going to be affinity issues, and that's maybe a little bit of counter synergy right there. Like Rathalos is force affinity. She's magic. So she could, weak hit a force affinity champion, but burn a spirit affinity champion, like let's say Head of Mischief. But Rathalos would be like, no, I want to hit. He's spirit affinity. I don't want to hit him because he's spirit. I'm going to go in, I'm going to attack the force affinity champ instead. So there's maybe a little bit of counter synergy there, but still, she brings the AoE burn on a short cooldown. Also brings us some healing as well with the continuous heals, which I think is really quite helpful, actually. We do have some healing with Ugo, but it just sort of smooths things out and makes it so that our team is fairly topped up at all times. This is on brutal. Actually, I forgot to say that at the start. This is on brutal HYDRA difficulty right now. She also brings us an AoE Hex, which extends the duration of burns, so it'll make the burns more consistent, which is great. We want to have as good uptime on burn as possible. Hex is going to be duplicating lots of damage from the single target hits from Shamail. Rathalos has lots of good single target hits, like every second A2 is single target. And his A1 is single target. His A1 hits pretty hard, especially if it procs his passive, extra 200% bonus damage. So that Hex will add up to extra and also will help them be killing off the Head of Mischief a bit easier as well. Like you can see right here, just on auto, they're attacking the Head of Mischief a bit simply because he's a squishy head and he's got Hex on. See, again, the magic affinity champs are hitting him, which is brilliant. That's exactly what we want. Want to be killing that head off as much as possible. We've got Arbiter in. Obviously, everyone can get Arbiter. She's giving you increased attack, and that's sort of it. She's also a revive. I don't know. I don't think we needed the revive. Actually, no, I think we did. Yeah, I think we did, if I remember watching through the run. The revive is just a nice thing to have for utility. Arbiter brings us increased attack, which we obviously want for both Rathalos and Shamail to get their most damage out. She also brings a weaken A1, which doesn't happen all the time, and she's got lots of active skills, so she doesn't do the A1 too often, but every now and then she will land the weaken, and it's going to add on quite a big chunk of damage, which is quite nice. So yeah, she brings a revive. She also brings you some healing if you're low on life, though it's not really too much, but it does, get you out of trouble. And she can also strip off buffs a little bit as well. I do have mine built with accuracy, just kind of happens to be her build, so that's okay. Then obviously the hardest champ to get here is the Krisk. Krisk is bringing us increased speed for everyone except himself. And he's bringing us AoE decrease speed. That's very inconsistent as well. He's also bringing us the decrease attack for this team. So when the heads attack, Krisk will get hit and apply decrease attack, which will, again, in particular, protect Arbiter. We're not too worried about Rathalos dying in the lead position. Obviously, it's not great, but if he dies, that's fine. Arbiter can revive him. But it's obviously essential that she doesn't die. And she's in an arena build, which makes it a bit tricky. If you don't want to use your Arbiter here, if she's too squishy because she's in super speed gear, what you could do instead is you could put I'd say an Ursula the Mourner is a really good replacement. 3-turn cooldown increase attack, which is also a 3-turn cooldown AoE decrease attack. So that's really good. And she brings an AoE revive as well. So she'd be a very, very strong option instead. And you can easily put your Ursula into regen gear and she'll pretty much never be in any danger of dying. Or you could build her high resistance, whatever. Like, you don't need the super levels of speed. You'll miss out the turn meter boosting of Arbiter, which is valuable, but it's a great, you know, replacement to bring in. Krisk is harder to replace. He is going to mischief tank for us, which is quite nice, especially because Rathalos does bait hits on himself. So I think Krisk is a really good combo with him. But any sort of increased speed, decreased speed champion, preferably someone who has both, would work well. And that could be a viable trade-off. You might say, okay, yeah, Head of Mischief, he's going to, you know, potentially be stealing buffs quite often, but I'm going to have a very, you know, let's say you've got a Shamrock instead. I'm going to have a very consistent increased speed, decreased speed. Because, yeah, I don't, the ally protection, I don't think is super needed because of the Tila. But yeah, you've got options. Like, you could use an Artak instead of Tila. I did try Artak with Rathalos. I didn't like them much because Tila applies burns, and then on her A3, she extends burns. That's brilliant. Artak applies burns, then on his A2, he explodes the burns, right? He reduces their duration by 1 turn. So getting good burn uptime wasn't easy. You could do it. Like, you could put Artak in a Hex cursed set, right, for Hex. But, you know, you might need to manual a little bit and not have him always A2. It could be a little clunky like that. Just something to consider to watch out for. Mordecai could be a really good option. AoE burns and also bringing you increased attack. And that could leave you quite flexible, though I do think you want probably a reviver. If you've got a Molly Tankard, then you're set, right? 2-turn provoke, fantastic. Yeah, if you don't have Krisk as the 3-turn provoke, it's not perfect, but it's enough to lock down Head of Decay a decent amount. You could put someone in a provoke set. You know, you could have provoke set on Kreela, for instance. That's something you could do. But let's skip on ahead. And here we go. We went really far in. So, you know, 200 turns in, we're up to like 140 damage. And yeah, then we're pushing on. I did target some heads at the end when people were getting eaten to try to squeeze out a little bit more damage. But we got up to like almost, what did we get up to? We got up to like 290 turns, almost 300 turns. Actually, I think we did. Yeah, we got over 300 turns on the boss. Our total turn count isn't actually super high though, right? We could still squeeze out a lot of extra turns. I think what's happening there, we got 190 million. What's happening there is we don't have very perfect speed control, right? Krisk's A1 in particular is just extremely unreliable for the decreased speed. I'm honestly gonna probably re-gear him in triple revenge accessories when I can, just to make the decreased speed more consistent, because it really isn't very consistent at all. But yeah, if we look at the damage, Rathalos Blademaster, 73 million. Tila, 55 million. Again, she's not built for damage per se. That's just HP burn and Hex. Those 2 debuffs adding up. And I guess War Master hits AoE. It's all adding up. Krisk, 7 million. He just has War Master. That's it. Again, Krisk is best in a curse set. Like, giving him Hex is by far the best set on Krisk. I just don't have, you know, a really good curse set to put him in yet. That would free you up, right? You wouldn't need Tila to be bringing the Hex. You could have a Krisk and Hex, right? Arbiter is like almost no damage. And you can see she's got almost no healing as well. Like, it's just not significant. Ugo, she's coming in as well. Let's actually point that out, right? Ugo doing 3 million healing. Tila is doing tons. She brings you loads of healing, really a lot. Shamael and Rathalos, they're healing with from the leech from Tila. I forgot to mention Tila brings leech, so but so does Ugo. So it's not too important. It's nice to have in there. The leech does a ton of healing for the damage dealers. So Blademaster and Shamael. Shamael did 43 million, which again is very respectable. So there you go, 190 million on Brutal. 55 minutes on auto. Again, I did do a bit of head targeting to try squeeze out a bit extra, because I thought, oh, maybe we'll hit the 200 million, maybe. So I got a little cheeky at the end. I think if it was on pure full auto, you know, you're easily hitting above 150 million, I think, pretty consistently. Obviously, luck will play a factor, you know, especially when you get that late. So yeah, but either way, the team is really solid. It's a very solid team. Like I said, the only major thing it's lacking is not perfect provokes, and the decreased speed isn't perfect either. But anyway, Rathalos, I do have him in lethal and cruel. It's the same build I had starting off. I would definitely consider I did try to see if I could get him in Merciless, which is his best gear set, but I just still don't have a good Merciless set to make it worthwhile, or the accessories or anything. So not there yet, but 9-piece Merciless is certainly the best, no question. Again, I did take a quick gander at Reflex or Relentless as options, but I don't think I quite have the gear to make it work quite now, although it would be real nice to get lethal onto other people. I certainly think on Brutal, it's not bad. All right, his A1 and his A3, I think that people make this mistake of assuming that all of the damage comes from his A2. Listen, the A2, it is going to be the hardest hitting when it does the AoE, especially on HYDRA, because it's ignoring 100% defense. But his A1 hits hard. His A3 actually hits really hard as well. And it's going to be very awkward to try to sync this up perfectly, especially with provokes in HYDRA, provokes and fears and stuff. I just don't see trying to perfectly sync that up. Even if you're playing on manual, that seems like a lot of hassle. It does great damage even when it's on the A3. Like, it really does. It will do good damage even on his A1. I think Reflex could be nice because it's going to limit his A1s and he's going to do way more A2, A3s. So you're going to basically get the 200% extra damage on a really good move every time. But the A1 is fine too. Anyway, bit waffling there, but you get the idea. I think it's certainly interesting conceptually about the champ. He's a very interesting champ, and he has these masteries. Tila is over here, so she's got these masteries, so extending her heals and her burns, right? And War Master, those are the important ones there. And she is coming in. She's actually in Relentless with Perception. And she's come in 250 speed, 335 accuracy. She's got tons of HP. Doesn't really need it. Like, you could kind of gear her whatever way you want. I think she can steal buffs. Yeah, she can steal buffs on her A1. So if you wanted to do some manual play, that could be kind of nice. Does have Brimstone as well, which is, again, kind of nice. But yeah, the Relentless is going to help her be more consistent. I think especially because her Hex is 2-turn debuff on a 4-turn. It's quite long. So Relentless makes that more consistent. And making the burn super consistent, I think, is quite worthwhile when Rathalos is there. So I thought Relentless is quite nice on her. Again, Reflex would be fine. You could always just put her in, like, Cursed or Guardian, even Provoke. Like, you could do all those sorts of things if you wanted, depending on what you need. Krisk, then, he is in the next slot. The idea with this, by the way, the positioning is for getting boosted by Shamael. I either want it to be Rathalos or Tila. They're going to do the most damage. So they're up at the front. Tila's totally fine. With that much HP, Tila's just not going to die really ever. Rathalos is in danger of dying, of course. He's not going to... Because when an AoE hit comes in, the Krisk passive won't be protecting him with that decreased attack, whereas Arbiter, Ugo, and Shamael will take hits with decreased attack on if the enemy head doesn't have decreased attack. So there's something to be aware of. But Rathalos' passive makes him a bit tankier as well. Krisk triple perception, like I said, Cursed would be ideal. Doesn't have any revenge accessories. I think I might try regear him into that. But he's coming in 248 speed. He's tanky enough, and he has actually too much resistance and accuracy. Like, you don't need this much for Brutal. Brutal, I think, is probably more like 500-ish. Is it? Off the top of my head? Let me double check. Yeah, so this is for... It doesn't really matter. Is it rotation 1? I forgot to check, but it doesn't matter. Brutal... Head of Mischief has 345 accuracy. You want at least 450 resistance. Again, preferably like 500. I think you want to be like 150 resist above, I think, to make it as consistent as possible. And then for their resistance, Suffering has the most, right? So he has 255, so you want 280. But again, plus 50 from his passive. So you want 330 accuracy to be fine. So I mean, certainly for Brutal, Krisk is 130 accuracy over budget. He's only slightly like 20 or so resistance, about 20 too far, but that's fine. His masteries, he's got War Master, and he's got extending his buffs and his debuffs. I think this is nice, makes his Mischief tanking a little more consistent, right? So there you are. Who else do we have in there? Arbiter. Arbiter is in just fast. Right gear. She's got 4 different sets. She's got some righteous, she's got speed, perception, even 1 piece of stone skin in there. So she's 372 speed. She actually has enough accuracy again for Brutal Hydra, even for Nightmare Hydra, she's got enough. So she can land the weaken and she can reduce their debuffs. That's nice. It's just the way it works out. I just happen to have like a quad speed perception, like extremely fast gloves. And I think the banner, I've never got more than a 2 roll in speed, and it happens to be on an accuracy banner. So, that's sort of adding up to make her very quick, make her very accurate, and she's got timely intervention. But I mean, I suppose ideally you'd have her be even faster and you wouldn't care about the accuracy, but it is what it is, right? We can only work with what we've got. Who else do we have in there? So these are my second Ugo. It's Ugo 2 and Shemail 2. So not my best geared, but my second best geared. Because it's worth having a couple. So Ugo 2, where is she? Where's 2 go? 2 go. I always get, there's 1 go. Where's 2 go? 2 go. She could be in the vault. Hang on. This is probably the fast. No, she was there. I'm just blind. 2 go. Oh, she's only 1 star. I thought she was 2 star awakened. She's in Relentless with Perception. So she's coming in 260 speed and good HP, and again, plenty of accuracy. You could drop that accuracy to 330, you'd be fine. The more HP she has is obviously really good because she does take extra turns with Relentless, helps her stay alive. More importantly, it does make her heal more powerful, which is quite nice. And she has survival instincts, which is kind of fun, I think. Then she's got War Master and yeah, fairly standard Ugo stuff. And then we've got Shemail. Over here, so we've got Shemail number 2. So he's 2-star awakened with Phantom Touch. I did try the 5-star one with Cruelty. I was trying that out. Yeah, he's got Kill Stroke. He's got Reflex. Trying to up his damage. Phantom Touch, like I said. So his stats, he has 4.6k attack, 235% crit damage. This is what I'm saying. Like when I looked at my Reflex gear, my best Reflex gear even for Rathalos Blademaster, I kind of said, yeah, I could get him in Reflex, but it would be more like this. I'd be going from like 6k attack to 5k, and I'd be going from like 260 crit damage to like 230. I said, I'm not sure if it's worth it versus just Lethal, because Lethal is still good, really good on his A1, A3 for HYDRA especially, and if you wanted him for Arena. So, yeah. And then Shemail has got Giant Slayer, and yeah, he's got these sort of, hang on, got those masteries. So there you go. That is the build, though. That was Team 1. So I think it's quite a decent performance. You know, it's not the best brutal team by any means, shape, or form, but it's a very, very solid one. Very solid one. So, like, yeah, you can see there's better teams here for sure. Better teams. Like you can have, for instance, Razelvarg team, right? A couple of Razelvarg teams are like Noose, Harima. You've got lots of good options in there. But look, this guy, he's up there. He's up there with them. Like, we're 11th. That's not too bad, right? With Rathalos. Not too bad. So yeah, there you go. I think it's a good, solid team. Again, that was, how many points was that for HYDRA Clash? 572 million points for HYDRA Clash, which takes us a good chunk of the way there. You need, what, 650? Yeah, you need 650, so it takes us a good chunk of the way there. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Hope it was somewhat interesting and helpful. Let me know what teams did you, number 1, did you run him this rotation yet? And what team did you put him in? And what score did you get? If so, I'd be very curious to know what you guys are doing with your Rathalos Blademaster, how you built him. If you found any big differences, let me know. Let us know in the comments. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.